There was his debut, Bottle Rocket, a lo-fi comedy about inept would-be criminals played by Luke and Owen Wilson that looks downright naturalistic compared with what would come after. Then there was Rushmore, about the friendship between a teenage oddball played by Jason Schwartzman and a wealthy depressive played by Bill Murray, the Anderson film that even the Anderson-averse admit to tolerating. But it was Tenenbaums, a star-laden dramedy about a dysfunctional family of former child prodigies living in a fanciful Manhattan that stretches up to 375th Street, that would separate the fans from the haters. In this film, the intricate, airless visual style and tone of wistful melancholy for which Anderson has become famous would really cohere. If you had a taste for his whole thing, Tenenbaums marked the point at which you would know, as someone who, with exceptions, usually does have a taste for Anderson's work, I have come to accept that his movies cannot and should not be foisted on the resistant. This is more true than ever when it comes to the almost unbearably on-brand The French Dispatch, an anthology centered on a fictional magazine, a film that plays like a counterpart to the Royal Tenenbaums' dog-eared literary fantasia. While Tenenbaums takes place in a construct of New York as built up in the head of a Texas teenager as he pored over back issues of The New Yorker, The French Dispatch is flat-out New Yorker fanfiction. It doesn't pretend for a second that Ennui-sur-Blasé, the cutesily named town in which it takes place, is real. The town is the receptacle for year-abroad fantasies, a setting where even the crime, like the menacing gangs of choirboys roaming the streets, is delightful. The artificiality of Anderson's work has always been a feature, not a bug. He may have stopped making films about his home state of Texas after Rushmore, but he never really abandoned the perspective of a kid dreaming about distant locales. The French Dispatch takes place not in the France where Anderson himself has lived for years but in a France of the imagination. The film, which is set in the 60s and was shot in the real city of Angoulême, kicks off with the death of Arthur Howitzer Jr., Murray, Anderson's favorite elusive patriarch, the founder and editor of the eponymous fictional magazine. The wayward son of a newspaper owner, Arthur went to France as a young man and never came back. The French Dispatch first came to life as an insert in his father's paper, the Liberty, Kansas Evening Sun, an assumed loving act of nepotism.